Welcome to Audit. Welcome to Audit Theory. Welcome to Audit Theory, the most boring subject ever created in history of mankind. Wala lang mas boring po sa subject na to. Pero class, despite the nature of audit theory, very crucial to in the CPA board exam. And we know auditing, which is one of the subjects in the CPA licensure exam, combined na yung problems and theories. Actually, class, nung time namin, auditing theory was a separate subject with 100 items. And then yung audit probs, separate subject then 50 items. Now, for your batch, combined na yan for a total of 70 items. And in the last board exam, kailan ba yung last? October 2019, out of 70 items, 50 items came from auditing theory. Okay? So 20 items lang class yung tinanong sa audit probs. So ganun ka-crucial yung auditing theory. Okay? And starting October 2022, kasi class October 2022, pwede nang i-revise ni BOA yung board exam syllabus. Kasi every 3 years lang pwede mag-revise. One of the revisions is yung 70 items na yan, magiging purely theories na lang. Okay, so yung plan is i-phase out na yung audit probs, integrate na lang sa FAR. Ganun yung plano. Pero syempre class, October 2022, hindi mo naabutan yan because CPA ka na by that time. Okay? But in short, ganun ka-crucial yung auditing theory. Okay? So para kailangan class, we also take this subject seriously. Alright, so class, bakit ba nakakatamad aralin yung subject na to? Because first and foremost, pangalan pa lang, auditing theory. Very theoretical yung subject na to. Okay? Unlike yung other subjects, for example, accounting and taxation, somehow nagko-compute tayo doon. Pero for this one, purely theories. Okay? And if nabobore ka doon basahin yung accounting standards, yung IFRS, itry mo yung PSAs or the Philippine Standards on Auditing. Actually, sobrang effective na gamot niyan sa insomnia. Try mo basahin yung PSA for 10 to 15 minutes, so sigurado mahimbing tulog mo pagkatapos. Okay? So class, ang key, ang technique, okay, para ma-appreciate mo yung subject and to get high grades in auditing theory, remember this, is to visualize, is to imagine na nag-work ka in an audit firm. Okay, yun yung key dito. Okay? Kasi sobrang theoretical niya, dapat ma-visualize mo kung paano kapag nag-work ka in an audit firm. So yun yung gagawin ko, class. Mag-share ako ng mga stories sa inyo, i-describe ko kung ano nangyari in actual real-life audit practice, and then i-connect natin yun sa lessons natin. So for today, medyo marami kong kwento kasi overview pa lang. So ganun muna gawin natin. Alright? So speaking of practice, once maging CPA ka na, and since sa pinakal ka nag-review, madali sa yung board exam, merong different fields na pwede mo i-pursue sa CPA. Actually, we call it scope of practice. Okay? Scope of practice, we have 4. Number 1 is public practice. When you say public practice, basically, nag-work ka in an audit firm. Alright? Number 2 is private practice. Private practice, it means you're employed in a private company. Okay? Number 3 is academe. So let's say after a few years, nag-decide ka na bumalik sa university nyo to teach. Okay? As a full-time professor, ang tawag doon is practice in academe, right? And then number 4 is government practice. Government practice naman class, if you're a CPA, okay, you have a CPA position in a government agency. For example, auditor ka sa COA, Commission on Audit, or CPA ka in BIR, or any other government agency, ang tawag doon is government practice. Okay, so assumption natin class, as we study auditing theory is, dito tayo sa public practice. Okay, nag-work tayo in an audit firm. Okay, speaking of audit firms, class, ano yung mga kilala niyong audit firms in the Philippines? Well, yung largest is SGB. Okay, so yun yung pinakamalaking audit firm in the Philippines. And in fact, I think yung market share niya is more than 50%. So majority ng mga top corporations, so companies in the Philippines, si SGB nag-audit niyan. And class, yung mga audit firms na yan, may mga affiliates yan. Okay, so si SGB, ang affiliate niya is si Ernst & Young or EY. So ang good thing about yung mga affiliates na yan, si SGB, pwede niyang gamitin yung resources ni EY, pwede niyang gamitin yung network ni EY. So ayan, kaya beneficial yan sa mga local audit firms. Alright, so what else? So SGB, and then we have Isla Lipana. Isla Lipana naman class, yung affiliate niyan is PwC. Okay, what else? How about Manabat San Agustin? Manabat San Agustin, this is KPMG. KPMG. Alright. Number 4, how about Punong Bayan and Araulo or PNA? PNA naman class, yung affiliate niya is Grant Thornton. Okay. And what else? How about Navarro Ampere? Navarro Ampere. Pero I think nag-resign or nag-retire na yung, one of them nag-retire na yata. But anyway, yung affiliate niyan is Deloitte. And then yung number 6, actually number 6 class, this is a very fast-growing audit firm. Reyes Takandong or RT. Yung affiliate ni RT is RSM. RSM I think is a German company. Mahirap i-pronounce yung RSM na yan. Okay, yung complete name niyan, kaya RSM na lang. But anyway, so these are the biggest audit firms in the country. So here in the Philippines, again, SGB pinakamalaki. Pero class, sa global perspective, ang largest is Deloitte. Okay? Ito yung globally speaking ng Deloitte. Second, si PwC. Okay? So, locally, is EY yung pinakamalaki, si SGB. And si Deloitte and PwC. Now, each of these has their own expertise. Pwede mo i-consider yun sa pagpili ng mga audit firms. For example, si SGB, kilala talaga siya sa audit services. Kasi yun yung nag-audit ng top corporations in the Philippines. Okay? Isla Lipana or PwC, known naman siya class sa advisory or consulting work, consulting engagements. For example, yung mga deals, yung mga mergers and acquisitions. For example, 2 companies mag-merge sila. Ay, maraming ganyan deals si PwC. While KPMG, known naman yung class sa banks, okay, sa banking. Because si KPMG nag-handle ng most of the largest banks in the Philippines. Alright? PNA is also known for audit. Marami din silang big audit clients. Deloitte naman class, advisory din yan. More particularly yung transfer pricing engagements nila. Ayun, dun sila sikat sa transfer pricing. RT on the other hand, sikat naman yan sa tax engagements. Okay? Actually, kasi may backstory yan. Yung RT na yan, I believe na yung founders niyan, former SGB partners. May mga senior partners ng SGB, I think nagka-issue that time, umalis sila. Okay? Mayroong mga tax partners, nagtayo sila ng sariling audit firm, that's RT. Okay? And I think yung RT relatively young, siguro mga 10 to 12 years old pa lang yung RT na yan. Pero ang dami nila clients. Okay? But anyway, so kanya-kanyang expertise yan. Pwede mo i-consider pagpipili ka na ng audit firms mo. Okay? Now, for me class, ang opinion ko is okay na mag-start ng career in an audit firm. Alright? So, marami kong students na nakakausap, hindi nila alam kung, or actually mga new CPAs, hindi nila alam kung saan sila mag-start. Wala silang idea kung ano yung gusto nila i-pursue na career. So, kapag ganung class, hindi mo pa alam yung gusto mong gawin, might as well start with an audit firm. Okay, 1, 2, 3 years, okay na okay class. Ang maganda sa audit firm, sabihin ko yung pros and cons ha. Okay, so kwentuhan lang muna tayo again para lang mas ma-appreciate mo yung audit firms. Pros and cons, muna tayo sa pros. Ang maganda sa audit firms, sobrang daming learnings talaga dyan. Okay, yung trainings, no, sobrang okay. Yung engagements mo to different clients, exposure mo to different industries, sobrang okay talaga yung learnings. As in, okay talaga, marami kang matututunan dyan. And actually kasi yung audit firms, ang tawag nila dyan is like an extension of university. Para ka lang din nag-aaral ulit dyan. Okay? And then yung mga kasama mo dyan, relatively young, kasi mataas yung turnover sa audit firms eh. Marami nagre-resign dyan. So a couple of months or 1 year, 2 years, umaalis na agad yung mga auditors yan. Okay? So that's why yung age group dyan class sa audit firms na yan, siguro mga 22 to 25 years old. So relatively young. Okay? So kaya parang mga classmates lang din kayo. Marami kang makikilalang friends, marami kang mga kalandian, marami kang network dyan na pwede. Okay? And ayan, yun yung good thing about yung pag-stay dyan sa audit firm. And also, nakita ko sobrang okay dyan sa audit firm is very defined yung promotion dyan. Okay? Yung promotion mo will really depend on your performance. Okay? So mag-stay ka for 1 to 2 busy seasons, mapopromote ka. Okay? Nag-perform ka well, mapopromote ka. Unlike sa mga napansin ko sa iba, mga private companies, private practice, maraming politika pagdating sa promotion. And then, may mga instances pa na before you get promoted, dapat mag-retire muna or mag-resign muna yung nasa taas mo bago ka mapunta sa position niya. In audit firms, different. Okay? Very performance-based talaga yung promotions. Yun yung good thing about it. Okay? So class, narinig nyo na ba yung word na pinirata? Okay? So ano yan yun yung term na ginagamit sa mga pag lumilipat ka from audit firm to a different company. Okay? So napirata. Ganito yan nangyayari class. For example ako. Kunwari, ang dream company ko talaga is to work in, let's say, Unilever Philippines. Okay? And since ako, bagong CPA lang ako, wala pa akong experience, let's say hindi pa match yung qualifications ko sa Unilever, so hindi pa ako na-accept. Ang ginagawa ng iba class, nagpupunta sila dun sa audit firm na nag-audit ng dream company nila. So for example, let's say si KPMG nag-audit ng Unilever Philippines, for example lang. Pupunta ako ng KPMG, okay? And then magpapa-assign ako sa Unilever. Siya yung client ko sa Unilever. Ngayon, since client mo sa Unilever, well, marami kang matutunan about Unilever. Ang tendency class, ang usually nangyayari, pinipirata ka ng client mo. Okay? So, lilipat ka from audit firm to your client. So, yun, dun ka magiging makakapag-work sa dream company mo. Yun yung ginagawa nila, nagpapapirata. Yung iba naman ginagawa class, nagpapa-second. Okay? Yung second, yun yung term for nagpapa-assign ka to different jurisdiction. For example, well, dito, EY Philippines yan. Tama? EY Philippines. Ngayon, yung EY na yan, almost lahat yata ng countries may EY. Okay? Actually, may barkada ako. Nag-work siya ngayon sa EY Australia. Okay? Nagpa-assign siya from EY Philippines sa EY Australia siya. Okay? Meron din akong classmate naman na sa UK naman. EY din, UK. May mga students ako na sa EY Middle East or sa US. Ganun yung ginagawa nila. Ang maganda dun class, later, sasabihin ko sa inyo yung cons, pero one of the cons, mababa talaga yung salary sa mga audit firms na yan. Pero kapag nagpa-second ka or nagpa-assign ka to, let's say, EY Australia, fairly compensated ka dun. Okay? Kung ano talaga yung bayad sa mga CPAs sa Australia, yun yung bayad sa'yo. Got it? So dito lang sa Philippines talaga yung mababa talaga yung sweldo ng mga Yan, yung mga nasa audit firms na yan. Okay, so yun yung ginagawa niya. But papa-assign to different jurisdiction. Kunyari, PwC sa UK, ganyan, KPMG, etc. So yun yung ginagawa na iba. Alright, so yun yung good thing. Again, sa audit firms, okay yung learnings, okay yung network, okay yung mga trainings, exposure mo to clients, to industry, sobrang okay. Kasi wala akong masasabing any negative thing about in terms of learnings. And class, tanda mo, especially yung mga bagong ano pa lang, first time mong mag-work, syempre dapat yun yung after ka. Okay, dun muna sa learnings mo, okay? Dun muna sa experiences. Now, dun naman tayo sa cons. Sir, ano ba yung cons naman kapag nag-audit firm kami? First and foremost, bababa yung sweldo dyan. Okay? So I'll be upfront to you, no? Siguro expect mo class kapag nag-entry level dyan, no? Ang tawag sila associate. Pag associate ka, siguro ang sweldo mo dyan mga nasa 18 to 20,000 per month. Okay? Maliit yan. Bakit? Sir, kasi nasa Makati ka. Lahat yata nasa Makati, except yung Deloitte. Yung Deloitte kasi nasa BGC. Well, mas mahal sa BGC, no? Yung cost of living sa Makati, good luck sa'yo kung mapagkasya mo yung 18 to 20,000 yan. As in, magtitipid ka para mapagkasya yan. Because, for example, yung accommodation pa lang, condo o kaya boarding house, may kasama ka. For example, 4 kayo sa room. Siguro ang budget mo doon mga 4 to 5,000 per month. Alright? So, 1/4 na agad ng sweldo mo, pupunta sa bahay mo. Siyempre, may food ka pa everyday. And then you also have transportation, utilities, etc. So, yung 18 to 20,000 per month na yung class, expect na enough lang yan for yourself. Okay? Kailangan mo magtipid para pagkasyahin yan for yourself. Yun yung isang con pagdating sa audit firms. Alright? Yung second naman class na con is overwork talaga dyan. Okay? Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na busy season. Kaya notorious yung busy season na yan. Expect class na kapag busy season, ang pinakamaaga mong uwi dyan mga 10 p.m. Right? Earliest yan. Most of the time, pag busy season, uwi mo na dyan mga 12 midnight, 1 a.m. And may mga instances, ako na-experience ko din yan, nasa SGV, and the next day na kami umuwi. Overnight kami nagtrabaho. Okay? So, ganun yung overwork talaga. So, let's say, pasok ka ng office mga 8 a.m., dun ka na halos titira. Okay? Meron mga Saturday work, meron yan. Minsan nagtatrabaho kami na Sunday. Alright? So, yun yung con. Pero again, class, pwede mo siyang tingnan negatively and positively. Ano yung negative doon? Wala ka na social life. Forget about social life kasi puro trabaho talaga. Pag busy season. Kasi meron din naman slack season. Ayan. Pag slack season naman, class, siguro mga 6, 7 p.m. makakauwi ka ng bahay niyan. Ayan. So, diyan ka babawi. Pero pag busy season, forget about social life, puro trabaho yan. Alright? And usually, class, ayan, pag slack season doon ka naman, chill ka naman kapag ganyan. So, ayan, yun yung dalawang cons. Una, salary, mababa. Second, overwork ka talaga dyan. Pero class, again, pwede mong tingnan negatively or positively. Yung positive side naman about it is, again, marami kang learnings doon, marami kang exposure. Okay? And for me, yun yung dapat ang habol mo sa early part of your career. Okay? Not really yung financial. Kasi class, ma-realize mo yung value mo. Okay? Pag nag-audit firm ka, once na umalis ka sa audit firm. Remember that. So yung 18 to 20,000 na yan, let's say mag-stay ka for 2 or 3 years sa audit firm. So siguro dapat ang asking price mo na dyan sa new employer mo, nasa 2 to 3 times na yan yung asking price mo. Okay? So again, marirealize mo yung fair market value mo pag umalis ka sa audit firm. Kapag nandun ka, sakto lang. Ito yan lang yung ano mo. Ganyan lang yung expect mo. So enough lang talaga dun sa everyday expenses mo. Anyway, so let's talk about once nagpunta ka sa audit firm. Okay? Yung entry level dun, ang tawag sa'yo class is associate. Okay? Ayan, associate. Now, if you stay sa audit firm, let's say mga 1 to 2 years, or to be more exact, 1 to 2 busy seasons, 1 to 2 years, mapopromote ka na niyan to senior associate. Okay, senior associate. This is on the average, ha. Kasi class, sabi ko sa inyo, depende sa performance mo. Actually, may kilala ako, nagstay ako sa SGB, may kilala ako na 6 months lang, promoted na agad sa senior associate. Ganun kabilis. So, depende sa performance mo talaga yan. And then, from senior associate, let's say mag-spend ka ng another 2 years, okay, since sobrang na-enjoy mo yung auditing theory sa review, okay, kinareer mo na rin yung audit work mo, okay? So, senior associate, after 2 years, you get promoted to associate director. Ayan. And then, nag-stay ka for another 2 to 3 years. From associate director, magiging director ka naman. Alright? So, another 2 to 3 years, ayan, kinareer mo na, naging senior director ka na. Okay? In class, yung director level, yun na yung managerial level. Okay? Manager ka na dyan. Managerial level na yung starting associate director. Okay? And then, after spending another 2 to 3 years, yung ultimate level mo in an audit firm is partner. Ayan, partner ka na. Partnership level na. And kapag partner ka, we know in accounting, you are one of the owners of the partnership. Basically, may-ari ka ng audit firm na yun. And in SGB, I believe, meron ng 100 plus partners yan. So yung 100 plus partners na yun, ang maganda kapag partner, meron ka ng share sa net income. Di ba ganun sa partnership? Nag-share kayo sa net income. Unlike kapag associate ka pa lang or manager, usually wala kang share sa net income dun eh. But as a partner, ayun, dyan na talaga yung pinaka-financially rewarding yung partnership level. And sa partnership level, may different levels pa rin yan. Yung highest level in an audit firm is you call managing partner. So pwede mong isipin class na yung managing partner is the president and CEO of an audit firm. Okay? Yung mas mababa ng konting level dyan, you call it the senior partner. And then yung entry level na partner, you call it junior partner naman. Ayan. So ayan, pag kinareer mo yung audit firm, yan yung corporate ladder niyan or career ladder niyan. Now, on the average, ilang years yan? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Siguro mga 12 to 15 years. Ayan class, yung average na stay mo in an audit firm to get promoted to at a partnership level. Okay? Pero may mga iba mabibilis. Meron akong kilala class na 10 years na naging partner na siya. So again, depende. Depende sa performance mo, sa dedication mo, etc. So let's say, ilan taong ka ngayon? Let's say 22 or 23 years old ka. So plus 12. So that's mga mid-30s. Ayan. So usually mga mid-30s, ayan, doon nagiging partnership. Partnership level yan. Okay, now, balik tayo sa busy season. Sir, bakit ba sobrang busy dyan sa audit firm? Kasi class, maraming clients na ina-assign sa'yo. Pag associate ka, usually, ang i-assign sa'yo dyan, mga 3 clients. So okay pa, 3 clients. Pero kapag senior associate ka, expect na sobrang dami ng clients yan. Meron akong kilala class, nasa audit firm ako, more than 10 na clients yung inassign sa kanya as senior associate. And usually, yung busy season na yung class, sa experience ko, from nag-start yan mga December to mga April. Ayan. Bakit April? Because April 15 is the tax deadline. May mga inahabol ka na deadlines yan, kaya sobrang busy. Alright? So December pa lang, may-feel mo na, ang dami nang ginagawa sa office. Okay? Hanggang April yan. Minsan nag-extend hanggang May or hanggang June. Okay? So after that, medyo slack season muna. So siguro ang slack season mo mga June to, siguro mga 3 months. July, August. Ayan. So starting September yan, medyo work ka na ulit. Pero June to August, ayan, sobrang chill lang talaga yan. As in, puro trainings lang. Yun yung maganda sa audit firm. Kasi kahit busy, kahit slack season, puro series of trainings. Okay? So ano ba ginagawa sa training? So usually, sa associate, yung trainings na ginagawa sa'yo, sinasimulate mo na yung actual na mangyayari sa field work. Okay? Pag nag-visit ka na sa client, isa-simulate mo na yun ng mga seniors mo and managers mo. Okay? Before ka sumabak sa fieldwork. Basically, ganun siya. Alright, so, ayan. So, yun yung expect mo pagdating sa audit firms. Okay, so let's move on. Ano pa hindi ko nasabi dito? Ayan, so ang good thing class sa busy season naman, di ba sabi ko kanina, mababa lang yung salary mo kapag nasa audit firm ka. Babawi ka sa busy season. Okay? Kasi dyan sa busy season, pwede ka na mag-charge ng overtime. Okay? Normally kasi hindi ka pwede mag-charge ng overtime. Kahit mag-stay ka sa office ng 10 PM, walang overtime pay yan, except busy season. Okay? Meron class instance, no? May isang month ako doon, kasi siguro baka March ka yan. Sobrang dami ko chinarge ng overtime. Parang times 2 or times 3 nito yung nasa payslip ko. Okay? Kasi puro overtime. Pero magagawa mo lang yan kapag busy season. Okay? Pag hindi, no overtime pay. Ayan, so makita mo na class kung ano yung pros and cons kapag dating sa audit. Pero for me, no, personally, for me, mas okay yung pros niya kaysa sa mas maraming pros than cons. Alright, so class, again, kwento-kwentuhan muna tayo ngayon sa first session natin in audit firm para lang ma-visualize nyo kung ano yung pag-aaralan natin. Okay? Sige. Now, let's say nag-exam ka, May or October, pasado ka agad sa CPA board exam kasi nag-review ka sa Pinnacle. Ayan. And then let's say class, namili ka ng audit firm, napili mo yung SGB. So syempre SGB yung share ko kasi dyan ako nag-work. Okay? By the way class, di ko pa pala na-share. Nag-exam ako October 2012. Okay, October 2012. And then, fortunately, nag-number 7 ako sa board exam. Siguro kung hindi ako nakatulog dun sa audit theory, baka number 1 lang ako. Actually, happy na ako sa number 7. Kasi nung pre-boards namin, first pre-boards, number 7 ako. Second pre-boards, number 7. Actual board exam, number 7 din. So for me, yun yung lucky number ko. Kaya masaya na ako dyan. During that time class, hindi ko talaga gusto mag-audit. Okay? Kasi hindi ko naman enjoy yung audit theory, yung audit problems, yung undergrad. Hindi ko talaga gusto yung audit. Kaya lang, sobrang tempting nung offer ng mga audit firms. Kasi yung mga top notcher that time, sobrang laki talaga ng signing bonus na binibigay. And in exchange, kailangan mo lang mag-stay for 1 year. Iyon yung band mo. Kasi pag umalis ka within 1 year, ibabalik mo yung signing bonus to the audit firm. Okay? So ako, since na-tempt ako, nag-sign ako ng contract sa SGB. Naalala ko kasi November 19, 2012, So pumasa ako ng boards October. Medyo nag-rest muna ako ng 1 month and then nag-work ako November 19, 2012. And then yung last day ko sa SGV, November 19, 2013. Umalis na ako after 1 year. Alright? So pagtapos ng band. Now, ang na-realize ko class, so na-assign ako sa audit and mga advisory engagements. No? Na-realize ko sobrang naging useful sa akin yung audit experience ko. As in, after kasi nun, nag-finance na ako. Yun kasi talaga yung gusto ko, yung field na finance. And then, bumalik ako sa UP to teach. Okay? Sobrang nagamit ko talaga yung audit experience ko dun sa pinurso ko na fields. And I believe na yung magiging experience mo sa audit, no matter what field yung i-pursue mo, I believe na magiging useful yun. Okay? And anyway, so masishare ko sa inyo class yung mga naging experience ko sa SGV. Pero I believe na yung structure ng SGV, similar lang din yan sa structure ng other audit firms. For example, pumasa ka ng board exam, May or October, napili mo is SGV. Meron tayong tinatawag class na market groups. Okay? Market groups or MG. Ayan. Basically, ito yung mga different industries sa audit firms. In SGV, yung MG1 is manufacturing. Ayan, manufacturing clients. MG2 naman class is mining. Okay? MG3 is telco, telecommunication companies. MG4 is airline and hotel. Ayan. MG5 naman class is banking. MG6 is entertainment. MG7, I believe this is food industry. And then MG8, meron ding outsourcing yung SGV. Alright? So again, ganito lang din halos yung structures ng ibang audit firms. Now, merong pros and cons class kapag pipili ka ng big audit firm versus small audit firm. Yung nakita kong pros and cons, for example, big audit firm, meron kang specialization. Okay? Isa lang dyan yung pwede kang ma-assign. For example, in-assign sa'yo is mining. Doon ka na sa mining. Lahat ng clients mo, mining. Okay? May specialization. Now, kapag naman napunta ka sa small audit firms, since very limited yung manpower, may possibility na ma-assign ka to different clients. So, meron kang mining, meron kang food, meron kang banking, etc. Pero dito, class, for example, SGV, kasi syempre, malalaking company siya ino-audit niyan, and maraming clients, mag-specialize ka lang sa isang industry. Again, pros and cons. Now, under each market group, okay, may tinatawag tayong cluster. Alright? Yung cluster class, basically, yun yung partner. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, yung SGV, merong 100 plus na partners yan. So, ang tawag natin sa kanila is cluster. For example, si partner A, ayan, partner A, B, and C. Ayan. For example, may 3 clusters. So, pumasa ka na ng boards, no? And then, nag-vacation ka konti, pumasok ka sa SGV, na-assign ka sa market group 5. Ayan, banking. And then, dun ka kay cluster B, okay, partner B. Ayan. And then, dun sa kay partner B na yan, so cluster na yan, let's say, ang composition yan is, malagay tayo ng, for example, ito yung naging scenario for you, okay? Let's say, dun ka na-assign sa MG5, okay? Market Group 5, and then kay partner B, or cluster B. Okay, so merong isang partner dyan, ito yung composition ng team. So may isang partner, and one partner, and then let's say yung managers mo, ano yung managers ulit class? Ito, associate director, director, and senior director. Let's say yung managers mo, meron kayong in the team, let's say 3 managers, okay? And then senior associates, let's say 5 kayo, okay? And then associates, yung mga bagong hires, new CPAs, let's say 10. Ayan, yun yung composition ng group. So 10 plus 5, 15, 8, 19, for example, 19 kayo sa cluster, ayan, sa cluster B, alright? Okay, so you're an associate, and then for example, class sa banking yan, inassign sa yung client is BDO, ayan. So si BDO, ang tawag natin sa kanya, siya si client, alright? Or management. So pag sinabing management, okay, sa mga exercises natin, sa handouts natin, when you say management, yun din si client, okay? Now, si client or si management, ang tawag din sa kanya class is preparer. Preparer of what? Preparer of the financial statements, okay? So si BDO, ito yung audit firm natin, si SGB for example, okay? Yung client natin, si BDO, ang tawag sa kanya client, management, or preparer. Now, on the other hand, dito naman si, ano ko muna ha, erase ko muna para may enough space tayo. If you have a preparer, you also have what you call users of the financial statement. So lagyan natin dito, users. Class, sino nga ba yung users of the FS? Can you give me examples? Investors, okay? Investors or shareholders. What else? How about suppliers? Ano pa? Lenders. Okay. What else? How about yung customers? Ayan. Users din yan. And how about the government? Yes, government. User din yung government. For example, si BDO, since banking yan, regulated siya by SEC, by BSP, by BIR, ayan, yung mga government agencies na users of the FS of BDO. Now, as client, okay, as management, especially si BDO is a listed company, ang gusto mo class, kapag preparer ka ng FS, syempre gusto mo attractive yung FS mo. Tama ba? So, yun yung tendency. Gusto mo maging attractive yung financial statements. And how do you know if attractive yung financial statements? Mataas yung assets, ano pa? Mataas yung revenues, mataas yung income, ayan, or net income. Yan yung tendency ng preparer of the financial statements. On the other hand, if users ka, ang gusto mo naman class, syempre kung ano yung na faithful representation, okay? Kung ano talaga yung nangyari. Ano talaga yung actual results. Gusto mo transparent, okay? So ano ba talaga yung real financial performance of BDO? Yun yung gusto mo as users. So again, ulit natin. As preparer of financial statements, gusto mo attractive yung FS. As users naman of the financial statements, gusto mo faithfully represented yung FS. Gusto mo kung ano talaga yung actual na nangyari. So there's a conflict of interest between the preparer and users of the FS. Gets ba yan? So yung conflict of interest na yun, actually may terms in class. Ang tawag is expectation gap. Okay? Expectation gap or information risk. So later explain ko sa inyo bakit information risk. But basically, the preparer and the users of the FS, merong conflict of interest yan. Diyan papasok si audit firm. Diyan tayo papasok. Okay, again, na-assign ka sa SGB, MG5 or banking na group. Last year, kay partner B ka na-assign. Okay? Ang mangyayari dyan class, si BDO, magbibigay yan ng unaudited FS, okay, to SGB. Ayan, tayo. Sa atin na-assign yan. Okay, MG5 cluster B. And then, si audit firm na yan, kaya natin, audit firm. Okay, si client, magbibigay ng unaudited FS kay audit firm, in our case, SGB. Alright? Si SGB, magpe-perform yan ng audit procedure. So later, explain ko sa inyo kung ano ibig sabihin ng audit procedures. After performing audit procedures, ibibigay naman ni SGB yung audited FS to the users of the financial statements. So basically, yung audit firm, siya yung nagre-resolve ng conflict of interest between the preparer and users of the financial statements. Got it? By employing what we call audit procedures. Okay? So syempre, aside from audit procedures, kailangan mag-comply din si audit firm sa IFRS, sa standards, and sa PSA or Philippine Standards on Auditing. Sir, ano ba yung audit procedures na yan? Yun din yung reason class kung bakit maraming trabaho sa audit firm. Because of audit procedures. I'll give you example. Di ba yung FS na yung class, merong balance sheet, okay? Merong income statement, and let's say statement of cash flows. Ayan. So sa balance sheet, merong assets, liabilities, and equity yan, right? Doon muna tayo sa assets. So meron kang assets natin, let's say may cash, AR, inventory, and so on and so forth. Pag sinabi mong audit procedures, these are the procedures na ina-apply ni auditors, tayo. Ito. So usually class, ang mga nagpe-perform ng audit procedures yung associates and senior associates. Okay? Siyempre kapag partner level ka na or managerial, hindi ka na masyadong involved dyan. Lalo na pag partner. Kapag partner kasi class, usually ang task mo na to get clients. Yun lang, to get clients. Pag managers naman, usually ang focus mo na dyan yung mga issues, okay, sa audit engagement. While kapag associate and senior associate, yan, yung mga procedures ang medyo ang focus mo yan. Anyway, pag sinabing audit procedures, for example, class, okay, perform tayo ng audit procedure sa cash, AR, and inventory. Ang goal natin dito is yung cash, AR, and inventory na makikita sa financial statements are faithfully represented, are reliable, and relevant. So for example, cash, ano yung mga audit procedures sa cash? Gagawa tayo ng bank reconciliation, gawa tayo ng proof of cash, etc. Pag AR naman, ano usually ang audit procedure dyan? Gagawa ka ng aging schedule, ayan. And then pag inventory count, ayan. Yan yung mga common na audit procedures. Now, imagine class, well, BDO kasi yan, so usually walang hindi applicable yung bank recon dyan. Pero let's say, yung client natin is, let's say, Jollibee. Ayan. Let's say si Jollibee, marami siyang bangko. Ang banks niya, let's say, 10 banks. So imagine, yung 10 banks na yun, kailangan mong i-reconcile lahat yun. Gagawa ng bank recon sa 10 banks. And sabi ko earlier, kapag associate ka, 3 clients yung ma-assign sa'yo. What if meron kang 3 clients, may 10 banks, usually 30 na yun. Pag senior associate ka, may 10 clients ka, tapos ang daming bank recon per client, so sobrang dami mong trabaho. Nagets mo ba kung bakit sobrang busy sa audit firm? Ang tawag natin doon class, audit procedures. So again, yung unaudited FS, okay, as auditors, we apply audit procedures, okay, na syempre, sa audit procedures, we have to comply with the Philippine Standards on Auditing. Pag na-apply natin yan, we will arrive at audited FS na gagamitin ni users of the financial statements for their decision-making process. Okay? So, ganun ka-important class yung role natin as auditor. Okay? Now, gusto ko rin class na ma-appreciate nyo yung degree of responsibility of audit firms and importance ng audit firm sa public, sa users. Okay? Kasi baka hindi nyo nakikita class yung importance. So, meron ako sa inyong stories. 2. Okay, story number 1. Teka. So, dito ko na lang. Sige, dito tayo maglagay. So, class, yung mga discussion ko sa audit theory, expect na may mga stories ako para at least ma-relate natin yan, no? Sa first session lang naman yung marami kong kwento. So, succeeding session, konti na lang. Alright? Now, kasi I believe na important to. Case number 1 natin, class, para makita nyo lang yung degree of responsibility of audit firms. You call this company Celadon Group. Celadon. Okay? Celadon Group. Celadon Group, class, is based in US. Actually, traded siya sa New York Stock Exchange. And this company is engaged in tracking business. Okay? Tracking business. Now, from 2013 to 2016, okay, ang nangyayari dyan, class, so transportation business siya, yung mga trucks, pinaparenta niya, ni-lease out niya, okay? So, sobrang nag-grow yung company na yan. From 750 trucks, in span of 3 years lang, naging 11,000 trucks yan. Alright? So, yan, sobrang lumaki talaga yung company na yan, si Celadon Group. Now, starting 2017, okay, bigla nagkaroon ng decrease in demand sa tracking business, okay? Nagkaroon ng slowdown sa industry, okay? So, we know, class, yung trucks na yan, sa books FS ni Celadon Group, PPE yan, tama? Property, plant, and equipment, kasi ginagamit mo yan to produce revenue, tama? So, PPE siya. Now, do we know, PPE, since nag-slow down, kumonti yung demand, meron siyang 11,000 trucks, hindi nagagamit. Okay, so nagkaroon ng mga mechanical problems, and then, nagkaroon ng, syempre, hindi nagagamit, naka-stock lang yung trucks na yan. So, nagkaroon ng, basically, naging idle yan, and we know, PPE is subject to impairment. Tama lang? So, since bumaba yung value niya, dapat i-impair siya. So, ang ginawa ni Celadon Group, okay, since publicly listed yan, merong conflict of interest because ang gusto niya, mataas yung assets niya, mataas yung revenues, and mataas yung net income. Kapag in-impair mo yung PPE na yan, millions of losses yung i-record dapat na impairment loss. Okay? Now, ang ginawa nila, binanipulate nila yung FS. Okay? So, ang ginawa ng CFO and CEO nito, CFO and COO, ang ginawa nila, nag-fabricate sila ng mga transactions. Okay? So, ang ginawa nila, class, binebenta nila yung ibang trucks. Okay? So, may sale. And then, ang ginawa nila, yung mga invoices or yung mga selling prices na inflate nila. Okay? Inflated na times 2 or even times 3 nung recoverable amount ng PPE. So, for example, yung isang truck na bebenta mo lang dapat since kailangan mo i-impair. For example lang, let's say 1 million. Okay? Dollars. Dollars pala to. Example lang, ha? And then, ang nire-record nila sa fabricated invoices, 2 million or 3 million. Okay? Dalawa yung magiging effect nun. Number 1, hindi mo kailangan mag-record ng impairment loss kasi nabebenta mo pala at higher prices. Okay? So, na-avoid mo impairment loss. Second effect ng, class, is because nabebenta mo siya at higher price than its book value, nagre-record ka pa ng gain. Okay? So, may gain ka na, and then, wala pang impairment loss. Ano yung effect ng, class? Mataas yung assets, okay? Mataas yung net income because wala kang loss. May gain ka pa. Get it? So, yun yung conflict of interest. Now, noong 2017, okay? Actually, a year after lang, 2017, na-discover yan ng auditor, independent auditor ni Celadon Group. Okay? And then si auditor, nag-issue siya ng opinion. Ang sabi niya basically is, yung Celadon Group, yung FS niyan, hindi reliable. Okay? Yun basically yung sinabi ni auditor. And cannot be relied upon, okay, yung financial statements of Celadon. Ang nangyari dyan, class, yung share price of Celadon Group in one day, okay, nag-loss ng 62 million US dollars. Dollars kasi sa New York Stock Exchange siya. So, yung 62 million US dollars na yun, one day lang yun. Ang ginawa ni New York Stock Exchange, nung nalaman yung news na yun, na false and misleading yung FS of Celadon Group, bali, sinuspend siya sa exchange. Okay? Hindi na yan, nung time na hindi na yan traded sa stock exchange. And na-penalize yung company. I think it's billions of dollars na sa $40 million. And then, na-prosecute dyan yung CEO, COO, and CFO. Okay? So, ganun nangyari sa Celadon Group. Ngayon, class, ang tawag natin dyan is, again, may conflict of interest. Again, si Celadon Group gusto niya na attractive yung FS niya, kaya lang merong information risk. Ano class yung information risk na yan? Ang affected dyan yung users, particularly yung investors. Yung investors na yan, again, in one day, nag-loss sila ng 62 million US dollars. Yun yung risk. Risk na affected financially yung mga users. In this case, ang directly affected dito, yung shareholders, okay, or investors. Now, imagine if hindi agad na-discover ng audit firm yun. Okay, so imagine kung ilang days or gano'ng kalaking losses pa yung mawawala dun sa users of the financial statements. Okay, so ganun ka-important, class, and yung degree of responsibility of audit firm. That's our case number 1. Okay, case number 2 is, ayan, so ito yung international example natin, okay? Yung case number 2 natin, class, local naman, okay? So, I know familiar kayo dito. So, again, marami kong stories from time to time, no? Para lang ma-relate natin sa topic natin. Case number 2 natin is yung To-Go. Ayan. To-Go is a logistics company, well, locally, okay? In 2017, binili yan ng SM Investments Corporation and ni Dennis Uy, okay? Binili nila yung To-Go. Now, ganito yung naging issue dyan, class. After bilhin ni SM and ni Dennis Uy yung to go. Actually si SM meron siyang I think 35% na stake dyan. No, binili niya ni SM yan for 6 billion pesos or 6 billion pesos or 124 million US dollars. Anyway, 6 billion pesos. So ang ginawa ni Togo, ang ginawa ni SM, yung Togo kasi nilang class, ino-audit na siya ni KPMG for a number of years. Okay? Matagal na siyang ino-audit ni KPMG. So, nung binili ni SM yan, and ni Dennis Uy, yung Togo, nagpa-special audit. Okay? Yung special audit was performed by SGV. Okay? So, imagine na, binili na. For me kasi late yung special audit kasi binili muna before nag-special audit. Okay? So, binayaran muna before nag-special audit. Dapat nag-special audit ka muna before mo bilhin. But anyway, so ganito yung nangyari. Yan, based dun sa procedures, audit procedures na in-apply ni SGV, okay? Yung net income dapat ni Togo for 2016 and 2017, kailangan ibaba ng 2 billion pesos. Okay? Ganun yung special audit. So, ibig sabihin, class, yung reputation ni KPMG talagang on the line talaga nung year na yan, nung 2017. Okay? Sabi ni SGV, okay, kailangan ibaba natin yung net income na in-audit ni KPMG by 2 billion. Okay? So, ang effect niyan dito kay SM and Dennis Uy, syempre, binayaran na muna nila before nag-special audit. Syempre, yung performance or yung net income ni Togo, makaka-affect yun dun sa price kung how much babayaran yan ni SM and ni Dennis Uy. Alright? Ito yung mga details ng class. So, anong nangyari dyan? Yung DTA, sabi ni SGV, improper recognition. Mali yung pag-recognize ng DTA or deferred tax assets. And another thing, ito yung biggest actually class na issue dyan. Yung hindi nag-set, yung allowance for doubtful accounts na audited by KPMG amounted to 390 million. Okay? Pero nung in-audit yan ni SGV, okay? Ang naging conclusion, dapat from 390 dapat maging 1.2 billion. Ganun kalaki yung jump ng ADA. Alam natin class yung allowance for doubtful accounts pag nag-entry ka dyan, debit, budget, expense, credit allowance for doubtful accounts. So may expense ka dyan. Ibig sabihin talaga bababa yung profit mo or yung net income mo. Okay? So marami pang issues yan. May issues sa goodwill recognition, so kung ano-ano. So in short class, yung reputation ng KPMG, talagang very challenge talaga yung KPMG. Pero I think nagkaroon naman ng middle ground between the two. Okay? Na-prove naman yata ng KPMG na tama din, pero I think na-penalize din yan. But basically class, kung makikita nyo, ganun kalaki yung effect, ganun kalaki yung responsibility ng mga audit firms na yan. And then, ang nangyari dyan class, since kailangan ibaba ng $2 billion yung profit of Go, nag-default ngayon sa loan covenants si Togo. Okay? Ang weird dito, yung loan covenant sa bank kasi kailangan mo may ma-retain ka na mga ratios. Anyway, nagkaroon ng breach of loan covenant. Kaya lang class, yung Togo na yan, yung creditor nila is BDO. Okay? And si BDO, own din siya by SM. Okay? Kaya nagkaroon ng mga complications yan eh. So nagkaroon ng breach of covenant. So payable on demand na yung loan need to go. Pero yung bangko, yung loan niya, kay BDO din, which is owned by SM. Alright? So ang daming naging ano dyan. Ang dami naging ano dyan, twist. Sa case na yan. But anyway, class, this is another case. Kung makita nyo ganyan ka-important yung audit, not only internationally, but also here in the Philippines. Marami pa akong stories, yan muna. And before we go to our handouts, last one na class, okay? Kwento lang to. Okay? Ito talaga yung lesson natin for today. Before we go to our handouts, mabilis lang. I just wanna share to you class kung ano yung mga services offered in audit firms. Okay? We can categorize them into two. Okay? We have what we call assurance services and non-assurance services. Okay. When you say assurance services, nagbibigay ka ng assurance, it means you're giving out an opinion. Okay? So pag sinabing assurance services class, tandaan nyo, merong opinion yan. Okay? Pag naman non-assurance, on the other hand, without opinion. Okay? So with opinion, this one is without opinion. And in line with that, before ka makapagbigay ng reliable opinion, you have to be independent. Okay? Independent. Kapag naman non-assurance service yung nire-render mo, okay lang kahit hindi ka independent. Alright? So again, yung independence kasi class, as you will learn soon, is a very unique characteristic of being an auditor. For example, class, other professional ka. For example, doctor ka. Yung relative mo nagpagamot sa'yo. Okay? Siyempre, hindi kayo independent kasi relative mo siya, di ba? Tatanggihan mo ba? Hindi. Because wala ka namang issue on independence. Whether independent or not, walang issue sa'yo yun. Pero kapag class auditor ka, before ka makapagbigay ng assurance services, you have to be independent from the client. Okay? Kapag hindi ka independent from the client, you cannot give assurance services. Got it? Okay. Now, again, different services offered in an audit firm. Meron kang assurance services and non-assurance services. Under assurance services class, dalawa yan. Merong audit, and then merong review. Okay? So, yung audit, yun yung kanina pa natin pinag-uusapan. Alright? So, yung review naman class, isipin nyo siya as parang audit, pero mas konti na procedures. Okay? Konti na procedures na audit. Parang ganun. Right? Now, ito yung level of assurance na binibigay natin for these services. For audit, okay, we provide high or reasonable level of assurance. Alright? Pag audit, high or reasonable level of assurance. Now, kapag review naman class, we only provide moderate or limited level of assurance. Bakit moderate? Because yung review, audit din siya, pero mas konti yung procedures mo. Okay? That's why, high is audit, for review naman, moderate. Alright? So, lagay na rin natin class dito yung output natin or yung reports natin. In an audit class, ang tawag natin dyan is auditor's report. So meron tayong separate session for auditor's report. Titingin tayo ng sample auditor's report. But basically class, ang ibang tawag dyan is positive form of report. Okay? Kapag naman review, negative naman yung tawag. Okay? So later, expound natin yan kung bakit positive or negative. But basically, nasa wording lang yan ng report. Pag sinabi mong positive, parang ganito yan. The financial statements of BDO are reliable. Positive form yan. Pag sinabi mong negative form, parang sasabihin mo dyan, we encountered no reasons to say that the financial statements of BDO are not reliable. Parang ganun. So worded in negative form, pero kaya moderate level of assurance lang. So yung audit, worded in positive form, so mas mataas yung assurance na binibigay mo, while for review naman, negative form naman yan, kaya negative assurance lang. Later, expound natin yan sa handouts natin. Okay, let's go to non-assurance services. Pag non-assurance services class, tandaan mo yung 4 types na to. Okay? 4 kinds of services. You have agreed upon procedures. Agreed upon procedures. You also have compilation. Okay. You also have tax and consulting. Ayan. Agreed upon procedures, compilation, tax, consulting. Sir, ano ibig sabihin ng agreed upon procedures? Kaya class, ang tawag dyan is agreed upon. Yung procedures na ipiperform will be agreed first between the audit firm and the client. Okay? We have an example. For example, class, ang gusto lang ni client is determine mo kung how much yung goodwill impairment. Ayan. Or, for example, sabi ni client, pwede niyo ba akong tulungan na mag-value ng derivatives? Or, sabi ni client, pwede niyo ba akong tulungan i-audit yung sales lang? Okay? Ang tawag natin din is agreed upon procedures. Okay? Very specific engagement. For example, goodwill impairment, yun lang. Engagement mo between audit firm, SGB, and yung client, ang pag-uusapan nyo lang is yung impairment, okay? Yun lang yung gagawin. Or valuation derivatives and so on and so forth. Ang tawag natin dyan, agreed upon procedures. And, again class, pag non-assurance engagements, kahit hindi ka independent, pwede mo i-perform yung 4 na yan. Got it? Okay. When you say compilation naman class, okay, so compilation naman, yung output mo sa agreed upon procedures, ang tawag dyan is factual findings. Okay? So for example, ano ba yung factual findings? Na-determine mo how much yung impairment loss ng goodwill. Na-determine mo how much yung value of the derivatives. Yun yung factual findings. When you say compilation naman class, this is just a preparation of FS. Preparation of financial statements. Okay? Bibigyan ka ng raw data ni client. O, ito yung nangyari sa amin. Okay? Ito yung records namin. Can you help me prepare financial statements? Ang tawag doon, compilation. Okay? So take note class, sa compilation, hindi mo ino-audit yan. Okay? Kaya non-assurance. Bibigyan ka ng raw data ni client, gagawa ka ng FS, and that's it. That's compilation. Alright? So, yung output mo naman dito class is the compilation report. Basically, sa compilation report, yun yung compiled na financial statements. Pero again, wala kang audit procedures na in-apply, no? Walang any audit sa compilation. Kaya it's part of non-assurance. Okay, let's go to tax. Yung tax can be 2. May tinatawag tayo na tax compliance, okay, or tax planning. Ayan. So kasi kapag tax compliance, basically, iyan yung preparation of ITR. Papatulong sa'yo si client, okay, pwede mo ba kami tulungan na mag-file ng ITR, okay, mag-fill out and mag-file sa BIR and magbayad sa BIR. Ang tawag natin doon class is tax compliance. So output nito, yung report dito is ITR. Lagyan natin output. Okay, yung ITR. Ngayon naman class, when you say tax planning, ito naman yung, well, strategy naman to kung paano ka makaka-minimize ng taxes legally. For example class, si client meron siyang makikipag-merge sa another corporation, another company. So may mga tax, mga tax implications yan. So as tax professional, for example, SGB, magbibigay ka ng advice kay client. Okay, ito yung mga strategy, ito yung structure ng merger para ma-minimize mo yung taxes. Or pwede rin na, for example, si client meron siyang estate. No? So papaayos niya, gusto niya ma-minimize yung estate tax. Okay, so gusto niyang magbigay ka ng advice sa kanya kung paano ma-minimize yung estate tax. So estate planning or tax planning yung tawag dyan. Alright? So, yan. Yung output naman dyan, class, is what we call tax advice. Okay? Kung ano yung advice mo kay client, that's the output. Got it? Consulting or advisory. Ayan. Pag sinabi mo advisory or consulting class, medyo similar terms lang sila. This is a very broad output. No? This is a very broad field. Basically, whenever you help the client improve its operations, improve its processes, or, ayan, you call it advisory or consulting. Very broad category ang class. So, ang mga examples ito, class, for example, yung may magkakaroon ng, ayan, actually merger and consolidation, kasama din yan. For example, class, yung mga cybersecurity, ayan, cybersecurity, or for example, yung mga digital transformation services, okay, yung mga transfer pricing, etc. So, performance improvement, yung mga ganyang types of deals, ang tawag natin dyan, advisory and consulting. So, isipin nyo lang, class, basta hindi siya audit, hindi siya review, Hindi siya related to tax or whatever. Pwede mo siya pagsamasamahin in advisory or consulting. Okay? So, ang output naman natin dito, class, is the consulting report. Consulting report. Ayan. So, again, class, since wala kang assurance, so without opinion yan, yung 4 na yan, agreed upon procedures, compilation, tax, and consulting, kung sa audit, meron kang high level of assurance, sa review, you have moderate level of assurance. For these 4, no assurance. Okay? Kasi non-assurance yan. Wala kang opinion, basically. Alright? So, ayan. So, yun muna. Let's have a short break, then punta tayo dun sa handouts natin. So, prepare your handouts. Sagutan natin yan after the break.